I wanted to show you this epoxy countertop. This is crazy. That's why I shouldn't get up this early. This walnut countertop. We're actually pushing really hard to get it out the door tomorrow for a client. It's really important to hit our deadlines. But not only that, they have a family reunion next week, and they still need to install appliances, a new house build. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about epoxy fill. And I've got my own personal opinions on when to do it and when not to do it. We specialize in salvaging trees here in Texas and building furniture from these trees, so we love everything to be as organic as possible. But certainly the application of epoxy in this circumstance, because it is a kitchen countertop, it's going to be a high use area, a lot of food contact, a lot of liquids, etc. So it makes total sense that we do an epoxy fill here. And I want to show you, over the 7 years of running this company, we've certainly played with 1,000 different methods. It's of course an exaggeration, but many different processes, and some have been hit and miss. And now 7 years later, we've really got it down to a really good, effective, and most importantly, very productive and efficient process. And I wanted to share that with you. So let me walk around and show you some examples. So this is that countertop, of course, and these are the last stages of these epoxy fills. Now, what is this ugly blue crap? It's, of course, painter's tape. This is how we do our dams. I see people using caulk and silicone and some other stuff, and I just really don't quite understand why. It's easy. Just grab some blue painter's tape and just pinch the edges just like this and build up your dam. Now, why build a dam up? Well, ideally, you're like this, and it's absolutely perfect. I don't have a single micro bubble or micro bubble anywhere. That's an N of 1. Let me show you that this is actually a repeatable process. There's an N of 2, nothing. There's another crack. N of 3, nothing. Let's go 4, 5, and 6, folks. So again, you see it? That's what we were talking about. Just this pristine, glossy surface. No micro bubbles, not even on the edge of the tape. And what that says to me is, wow, whoever did this properly addressed, prepared, spent the time to prepare the cracks, and knows about seal coats. So the key to doing a really good epoxy fill without pulling your hair out with these bubbles and trying to fix pin hair bubbles, if you get to that point where you have micro bubbles, grab a Dremel or a razor blade if you have to. It's a little difficult with a razor blade, and cut it out. Just start over, dig it out and start over. Fighting those pin hairs is just an utter nightmare. So how do we do this? For one, we're building the dam just for preventative measures. We a lot of times will avoid the bubbles completely, but if you do happen to get them, because they will happen on some very complicated cracks where you really can't get a complete seal just because there's so much undermining, this will help kind of mitigate that. And so any micro bubbles you might get, ideally they're going to be above the surface by, these bubbles aren't going to be an 1/8 inch thick, so this is an 1/8 inch above. So the bubbles you'll sand through them at the end of the day, and so that's preventative. But as you see here, I don't have any. Could have just poured this to the surface and been done, but just to make sure, we'll always build the dam up. So how do we get to this point? That's the question. This makes it look easy. Not. So let me show you. Here's this is actually a 14-foot by 50-inch wide sycamore. We actually, believe it or not, donated this to the Sunset Baptist Church here in Dripping Springs. I hope it goes to show that we're really about community and people. We gave this away, donated this to them for free. The only thing we're charging them on this is construction of the table base, and then just the labor to finish this thing out. That's it. So we gave them a $4,500 slab, absolutely free. So these cracks. Now, here's some setup cured epoxy, so I can't show you that in terms of a fill. Don't avoid saying, hey, let's just start pouring into these cracks. This is how you're going to get yourself in trouble, because you need to seal it, and this is porous substrate, so it's going to breathe. And what we want to do is we want to seal up that substrate so we don't have any of those small air pockets or any type of air permeating through the epoxy and causing those micro bubbles. So what do? It's all about prep, prep, prep. If you do this right and you spend the time to prep it first, you will not be challenging yourself later and trying to address and fix the holes. So if you're getting air holes in your epoxy, in my opinion, you're doing something wrong. And here's what it's all about. Prep, 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 prep. So take a razor blade on any cracks you want to fill and just groove them out. Cut a V groove to clean everything out really nicely. Then you want to make sure, get some sandpaper, get in there and sand, remove all those loose bodies, all those fibrous hairs, everything. Let's get everything, let's clean this out to the best of our ability. Now this table is actually ready to finish. This is what we call a 100% organic, 100% natural table. This is what I love. We are leaving all these cracks and these voids open. We have literally cleaned up every single crack, and we have dressed any instability with bow ties. We actually have a series of bow ties underneath this table too. And the reason for that is because this is the pith cut. This is the center cut of this log. So this is where we're gonna have the most concentrated stresses, and you're just gonna get some cracking. This was also a standing dead tree that we salvaged. So we're not going around cherry picking trees just to be able to produce the best quality lumber. It's really for us about producing good quality lumber, but from trees that are standing dead or are in the process of dying, and we want to save more trees, so we want to move more wood. And so yes, some of the quality of the wood may be a little bit lower, but we're really reusing these trees, which is important to us. So this entire table took basically the entire day to clean out. Literally every single crack has been cleaned out. So now at this point we are also ready to do the first epoxy pours, and what we're looking for here is a seal coat. We are not, avoid wanting or desiring, I'm gonna get a brush to show you, avoid wanting to try to do these pours in one step. You wanna do at least 2 seal coats. And what you're looking for here is, this is a good example. Now of course you're gonna wanna tape off the bottom if it's a through crack, but we're gonna pour in epoxy in here, and we're just gonna continue to slowly fill this crack until it permeates all the way through to the bottom, and then it starts to fill from the bottom up. Now we'll pay close attention to this deep in this crack where we're starting to see that shadow way deep in there where it's just starting to open up. That's as far as I'll pour for the seal coat. I will absolutely not go any higher. In fact, sometimes we might just do one, let it all soak in, and then come back again. But you also want to have a brush handy, and you want to make sure you get this brush as deep in these cracks as possible, and just push the epoxy around like a slurry. Make sure to get it on all the surfaces you can, all the way up here around the edges, the perimeter of this crack. We're going to just brush epoxy in, and what we're doing there is we're sealing to prevent any air from permeating through the wood and up into the epoxy. If you do that, you will get these perfect results with these epoxy fills. So it's about prepping all the cracks, cleaning them all out, getting all the loose debris out, opening them up so you can get good penetration and flow of your high viscosity epoxy, making sure we brush it and seal it. And then once you do that twice, sometimes you need to do it 3 times. And folks, it's not that time consuming. We use fast setting up epoxies, thin viscosity epoxies. We can do a seal coat every 30 minutes without a problem. So really, you can spend about 2 hours and you can have a perfect fill, just like that table over there, because you can just keep doing this. As the epoxy sets up, you can do another seal coat and then another seal coat. And then finally, once you've got proper sealage, then you can do a complete fill, and you'll have spectacular, wonderful results without pulling out your hair all the time for those micro bubbles. So if you're getting micro bubbles, try to spend a little bit more time up front, and I bet you'll have good results. Let me know if you try this out and how it worked for you.